Here's something that sounds crazy but is actually true. The biggest rivalry in consumer history, over 100 years running, billions of dollars spent, isn't really about taste. It's a fight happening inside your brain. Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Everyone thinks it's just about which one tastes better. But underneath the fizz, there's something stranger going on. Something that messes with how we actually experience reality. The story starts in 1886 in Atlanta. A pharmacist named John Pemberton mixed up a drink he called a brain tonic, Coca-Cola. It was sold at soda counters as a headache cure, of all things, and it took off fast. That mix of coca leaf and cola nut hit something people wanted. Within a few decades, Coke wasn't just a drink anymore. It was wrapped up in American identity itself. A few years later, over in North Carolina, another pharmacist named Caleb Bradham came up with his own version. Originally called Brad's Drink, later renamed Pepsi Cola in 1898. While Coke exploded, Pepsi struggled. It actually went bankrupt more than once. In its early years, Coke, meanwhile, plastered itself all over American life. Santa Claus ads, patriotic campaigns, family moments. It wasn't selling a drink. It was selling a feeling. That gap early on set up everything that came after. Pepsi was the underdog, so it had to fight differently. Go after Coke directly. Where Coke leaned on tradition, Pepsi went after younger people and positioned itself as the fresher, newer choice. It even gave you a bigger bottle for the same price. This wasn't some accident. Every move both companies made was designed to shape what people wanted before they even walked into the store. It wasn't really two companies selling sugar water. It was two completely different strategies fighting over your loyalty. Things got interesting in the 1970s with something called the Pepsi Challenge. The setup was simple. Two plain white cups, number labels, one with Coke and one with Pepsi. People tasted both, blind, and picked a favorite. And over across the country, more people picked Pepsi. That result should have flipped the market upside down. If people actually liked Pepsi better, why was Coke still winning by miles? This became the big unanswered question behind the whole rivalry. For years, nobody had a real explanation for it until scientists actually looked inside people's brains to find out. In 2004, researchers at Baylor College of Medicine ran the Pepsi Challenge again, but this time with people hooked up to a brain scanner. First, they had people drink both colas, completely blind, number branding at all. And in that case, the brain lit up. Almost the same way for both, the area tied to taste and reward showed number strong winner. Then they changed one thing. They let people see the label. Once someone knew they were drinking Coke, a totally different part of the brain switched on. An area linked to memory, emotion, and identity, not taste at all. That same activity barely showed up for Pepsi. In other words, the brand itself was changing how the drink actually felt to drink. People weren't just tasting a cola. They were tasting 100 years of advertising and childhood memories and everything Coke had ever meant to them. And then there's the clearest proof of all, New Coke. In 1985, worried about losing ground to Pepsi, Coca-Cola actually changed its own formula, made it sweeter, smoother, and in blind taste tests, it beat both the original Coke and Pepsi. It should have been a win. Instead, people were furious. They stockpiled the old cans. They called complaint lines in tears. They protested in the streets. New Coke tasted better by the numbers, and it still flopped badly. Why? Because Coke was never really selling a taste. It was selling a memory, a piece of people's own identity. Mess with the formula, and you're not changing a drink. You're threatening something people feel is theirs. The cola wars never really ended. They just moved online, into your social feed, into a much more crowded world of brands. But the playbook hasn't changed. Your phone, your coffee, your clothes, nearly every brand is chasing the same thing Coke figured out a century ago. Become more than a product. Become part of how someone sees themselves. And that should give you pause about where this is heading. As companies get better at collecting data and understanding people, they'll get even better at building brands that don't just meet a need, they'll hook into identity itself on purpose at scale. A lot of what feels like a free choice is really the echo of a story someone spent decades building for you. So next time you grab a can, take a second. Are you actually choosing based on taste? Or is your brain just replaying 100 years of carefully built memory? A billion-dollar war that was never really about your stomach at all.